are you going to go to Mexico and go to war with the cartel? Are you going to take our army? And wasn't that what they said? And he directly said yes. From what I remember,
all she said was that so the claim that she made was you said you want to send troops to Mexico.
Yes,
that's it.
What's up, everybody? Which camera am I looking at? Are we here? We're here.
We are here.
We're here in the middle. All right. What's up, people? How you doing? Welcome again to Seeking Skeptics. I'm Josh. This is Kyle. And we are going to discuss some things about the debate, things that really stood out to us, a little bit about some of the people who are actually debating, a little bit about how MSNBC and those who actually held the debate handled the debate and the aftermath of the debate, and kind of expand on some points that we think some candidates made that were really good. Again, I'm Josh, this is Kyle, and so we're going to start really by focusing, and this may or may not lose your attention, by focusing our conversation a little bit on Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard during the debate last night, I think you and I both can agree, was pretty on point with a lot of things she said.
She's a badass.
When it comes to pure content and when it comes to actual substantive things to say about foreign policy, she was nailing it.
So do you think she won the debate?
I don't think she won. I don't necessarily know if she won the debate. There's still plenty of things about Tulsi that I have reservations about.
I think she won the debate.
But I think that she definitely, and we're going to talk about this. We're segmenting this out into basically like a couple of different sections, right? Which is basically Tulsi against two candidates that we feel directly tried to address her and tried to undermine her, I guess maybe in a way, but failed beautifully. And beautifully, miserably, really, but like beautifully in the sense of it was so blatantly obvious that they had no responses to what she had to say, that they just went back to these political standing points and just acted like not political pundits, but they just went on their stump speeches, I guess.
It shows how, the debate's scripted. I mean, let's just be...
Well, yeah.
It's scripted in such an intense way that it's even hard to... normal people can watch it. I feel like most people who aren't political, when they watch the debate, they get turned off by it.
Sure.
Because it's so fake. And it's so disingenuous. It's just...
Absolutely.
And I have a few clips that we're going to talk about. First,
we'll talk specifically. We'll frame this with the first person that we're going to talk about specifically is Mayor Pete. Now, Mayor Pete and Tulsi Gabbard had an interaction during the debate. For those of you who watched it, I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about. But they were discussing. Tulsi decided to talk about experience as a military veteran and as well as someone who's worked in Congress, and discussed Pete's inexperience in that regard, right? When it came to foreign policy, not being around to know really what's going on like she has, right? So
this clip is called Tulsi versus Booty, is what I called it.
Sure, that works.
So we're going to post that clip up.
Trash.
We're going to post that clip up, and we're going to talk about it.
But I want to get back to Pete Buttigieg and his comment about experience. Pete, you'll agree that the service that we both have provided to our country as veterans by itself does not qualify us to serve as commander-in-chief. I think the most recent example of your inexperience in national security and foreign policy came from your recent careless statement about how you as president would be willing to send our troops to Mexico to fight the cartels. As commander-in-chief, leader of our armed forces, I bring extensive experience serving for 7 years in Congress, on the Foreign Affairs Committee, on the Armed Services Committee, on the Homeland Security Committee, meeting with leaders of countries around the world, working with military commanders of different commands, dealing with high-level national security briefings, understanding what's necessary, the preparation that I've gotten to walk in on day one to serve as Commander-in-Chief.
Congresswoman, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll allow you to respond.
I know that it's par for the course in Washington to take remarks out of context, but that is outlandish even by the standards of today's politics.
Are you saying that you didn't say that?
I was talking about U.S.-Mexico cooperation. We've been doing security cooperation with Mexico for years, with law enforcement cooperation and a military relationship that could continue to be developed with training relationships, for example. Do you seriously think anybody on this stage is proposing invading Mexico?
That's not what I said.
I'm talking about building up alliances. And if your question is about experience, let's also talk about judgment. One of the foreign leaders you mentioned meeting was Bashar al-Assad. I have, in my experience, such as it is, whether you think it counts or not, since it wasn't accumulated in Washington, enough judgment that I would not have sat down with a murderous dictator like that.
Congresswoman Gabbard, let me allow you to respond.
Thank you. You were asked directly whether you would send our troops to Mexico to fight cartels, and your answer was yes. The fact checkers can check this out.
No.
But your point about judgment is absolutely correct. Our commander-in-chief does need to have good judgment. And what you've just pointed out is that you would lack the courage to meet with both adversaries and friends to ensure the peace and national security of our nation. I take the example of those leaders who have come before us, leaders like JFK, who met with Khrushchev, like Roosevelt, who met with Stalin,
Like Donald Trump.
like Reagan, who met and worked with Gorbachev. These issues of national security are incredibly important. I will meet with and do what is necessary to make sure that no more of our brothers and sisters in uniform are needlessly sent into harm's way fighting regime change wars that undermine our national security. I'll bring real leadership and experience to the White House.
So much to unpack there, and we're going to try to be pretty brief about it. But the main things that I want to talk about really about this conversation is that Tulsi Gabbard brings up a valid point. And later on, I know there's an article that you had that refers to Pete actually saying these things about how he's going to go to Mexico, and they asked him, are you going to go to Mexico and go to war with the cartel? Are you going to take our army? And wasn't that what they said? And he directly said yes. From what I remember,
all she said was that so the claim that she made was you said you want to send troops to Mexico.
Yes,
that's it. He responded with, I didn't want to invade Mexico, which is not what she said. His response is that all I want to do is do training. All I want to do is do simple operations.
Sure.
That's literally what we do all over the world.
No, in the debate, he's saying these things. I'm talking about the actual time that in the actual interview. Whenever they asked him, would you go to war with the cartel? He said yes. I'm not talking about in the debate.
In the debate, he admits it. He admits it. So when you say you want, if I said right now that I want to send troops to Mexico to train other people in that country how to fight and how to do that stuff, that's what we do all over the world. That is literally, we are partnerships. That's what
he was trying to use it as a scapegoat. Is what I'm saying.
No.
He literally says
it's not a scapegoat. No, it is what we do. That is part.
He tried to make it seem as if he was trying to frame it as if it was a partnership with Mexico, like we do with other countries, right? Where we do training exercises with other countries or corroborate with other countries. Now, hang on.
Have you watched the video? What he said?
Yes, and they ask him that question. They say to him, would you go to war with the cartel, with the army? Like, is this something that you would do? Like, are you going to go that far? And he said yes.
He did say yes.
He directly says yes to that question, and she's pointing that out. She's saying that you're going to go to war with these cartels. He then tries to shift the narrative away. He then tries to recover, and he does that thing where he gets all nice and prim and proper and tries to be a politician and say, no, I wasn't saying that. How dare you say that I said that? Something that he directly said. But instead of saying it how she said it, he rephrases her question and says, oh, you think that I want to go to, like, I'm going to invade Mexico? And he makes it sound like what she's saying is so outrageous, so crazy, so out of left field, what she's saying. And it's not what she said at all. That's a typical move of anyone who's trying to lie their way out of a situation. They are they try to find a way to shift the narrative to either make themselves the victim or fit the narrative they want it to fit. You know what I'm saying? If there's an abusive relationship that you and I are having, I'm going to try to do everything that I can to make sure it's gaslighting. It's textbook gaslighting is what he was doing to her in that situation. And now, one thing that I absolutely hate is the fact that he's getting all these hooting and hollering people in the audience, because these people
they're wanting zingers.
They're wanting zingers. They're wanting that drama, and he's providing that drama. But the thing is, that drama is empty drama. That drama is actually dangerous and is actually super insane that people in the media right now on Twitter and on Facebook and all these articles you'll see where they say Buttigieg trashed Tulsi in this interaction. Yeah. He did not. Well, she literally pointed those things out to him. And then when she responded to the things that he said, when he responded, she literally says to him, I didn't tell you that I didn't say that you were going to go invade Mexico. I'm saying that you are, not willing to meet with our friends. And when he brings up Assad, they always bring up Assad with Tulsi Gabbard because right now they're wanting to make her look like a bad guy. And they point to these meetings with Assad and they point to the meeting with Trump and they say, this is how you're bad, Tulsi. This is how you're this evil person. You want to meet with these people? You want to talk to them? Well, of course she does. She's working in foreign policy.
Well,
she wants to go and talk to these people who are in these other countries and figure out what the heck is going on, how we can, and how it affects our people, how it affects our country, how it affects our army, in the infantry, all these people, right? All these lives that she talks about losing to these things. She's trying to figure that out, right? And then he points to that, and then he points to her meeting, and then I think, and actually this might be whenever Kamala Harris talks to her, so I'll save that for another time. But he specifically brings up Assad, and it is honestly disgusting when she's going on and talking about that's what leaders do. Leaders meet not just with enemies, but with not with just friends, but with adversaries as well. Mm-hmm. You're not just gonna talk to your friends all the time and never talk to your adversaries, or never talk to the people who are doing these terrible things. You're not gonna just ignore them, right? Like that's not what it's supposed to be, or that's not how it's supposed to go. But and sometimes you have to meet with these people, especially whenever those things are affecting your country and affecting your people and affecting your army. You have to talk to these people. Pete Buttigieg treats it as if she's like cooperating with Assad and trying to help Assad and prop up Assad, just like the media has been. They're trying to make it to where she's like this goatee for Assad, like she's working for him, and it's disgusting and terrible, and it's fear mongering at its most basic.
Well, let's just think about this though. How many not our parents, but how many? Because our parents are more on the right side.
Sure,
but. How many people are watching this debate and they're passively watching it?
Sure.
How many people are actually listening to the conversation?
Right.
The goal is that this debate is so designed for the passive watcher who's on their iPad, who's playing a game, who's doing whatever,
who's having a party, a watch along,
who's talking to others, and then they hear these zingers and the laughs and everything else gets you excited, and it's like. I genuinely wonder, and this is my concern for 2020, is how powerful is that? How powerful is passive watching for the election? How many people who, are on Twitter, are on Facebook, saying that Tulsi got beat by Buttigieg on this little scuffle? How many people watch the full segment?
Sure. And actually listen to what
the content was, because
I'm sure they'd agree with a lot of things that Tulsi was saying. They would see where she's coming from.
They would,
right?
but the problem is people again, like they have this very much weird mindset that we need to be the world's police. Like a lot of our parents do that stuff, and what Pete is doing, whenever someone says we're gonna do training, it's code for we're gonna send troops, and it's a military operation.
It's another way for the bully to put a little outpost. Like you see it all the time in video games, right? You have like a guy who owns an island, and that island has these different places all over that island, these little sub-communities that you have to go take over so you can take over his whole thing. It's the same kind of idea, right? We literally we put ourselves in places where we really shouldn't be, and put ourselves there aggressively, and then we act like, if anybody tries to fuck with us, we're like, yo, step up, we're gonna fuck you up, we're really gonna destroy it. And it's crazy how much we instigate those things. But going back to my point, I actually kind of lost myself for a little bit, but I want to make sure that I say this real quick before we finish talking about Buttigieg specifically. I think that whenever she was talking about meeting with previous people, she was talking about meeting with Stalin, meeting with Gorbachev, meeting with these people that were dictators, were terrible people. And Buttigieg made a little sly comment and said, yeah, like Trump meeting Kim Jong-un. Out of all the things that Trump has done, that's probably honestly one of the better things that he has done.
I would agree.
Is go and talk to someone who is clearly kind of unstable and could very much be a threat to anybody. You should meet with that person. You should talk to that person. You should try to make peace. That's what the UN exists for, right? To make sure we all work together and we cooperate with each other. And that Buttigieg treated that as if Trump meeting with him was like this terrible thing. And it showed just how much inexperience he has in that regard, because it showed that he's not willing to actually have these conversations. Instead, he just wants to go with the world's bully thing. He just wants to keep going with these genocides, but these regime change wars.
Yeah.